Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. I hope you're all doing so well. Welcome back to another true crime and makeup video. Today we're going to be talking about Jerry Brudos. Yeah. Jerry Brudos, I hate this man, I loathe this man. Just, not great to look at, not great to read about, just overall not a fun time for anyone. But he is known as the shoe fetish slayer because he was obsessed with feet, high heels, women posed sexually with high heels and lingerie, and unfortunately he would target young women who were wearing high heels like that. Like, isn't it crazy to think that in this day and age we all wear high heels, even if it's just at the weekend, and that is primarily what he based his victims on, was if they were wearing high heels. This case is disgusting and it covers a lot of heavy topics, so I hope I do it some justice and hopefully it gives the victims some justice as well. These young women did not deserve what happened to them, no one does, and to think these were young women with their whole lives ahead of them just really hits home when you hear online about how much their family loved and adored them and how much they're missed. It just really reiterates how important it is to cover these cases and to keep each other safe and look out for people. If you do enjoy these videos, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Put the notification bell on so you don't miss when I upload, which is 2 to 3 times per week with new interesting cases every single time. I do take your suggestions on board as well, and you can leave them in the comments below or send them over to my email, which is up on the screen but also down below for you. Any details of what I've used on my face today will also be linked down below alongside my social media handles. It's my Instagram and TikTok if you want to give me a follow there, but ultimately just make sure you're subscribed. But without any further rambling and any further ado, let's get into the case of Jerry Brudos. So, Jerome Henry Brudos was born in Webster in South Dakota on January the 31st, 1939, and he was the younger son to Marie Eileen, which tangent very quick. Whenever I hear the name Eileen, all I can sing is, "Come on Eileen, na, 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 na." That's the only words I know, "Come on Eileen," but it's an absolute banger of a song. But yeah, okay, she was the mum. But we've got Marie Eileen Brudos and Henry Irvin Brudos. So Eileen didn't actually want any children. Like, children were like, not for me, I just want like a free life. But once she had her first son, she kind of like accepted her fate that like, okay, I don't want to be a mum, but I am a mum, so I'm just going to act like a mum, kind of, to at least one of my children. But her only hope was that her second child would be a daughter. She didn't want a second child, but if she was having it, she wanted a girl. So Eileen's birth date comes and she's all revved up, hoping to have a daughter. She gives birth, out pops the baby, and it has a pee-pee. It's a boy, and she is fuming. Now, throughout Jerry's childhood, Eileen, by the way, I know I'm calling her Eileen, her name's Marie Eileen, but she always went by Eileen, okay? So Eileen would emotionally and physically abuse Jerry throughout his childhood, and she kept no secrets that she was unhappy that she had a second son. She made it very clear that she had wanted a daughter, and she would actually go as far to absolutely drown her older son Larry in affection and emotion. And then when it came to Jerry, she was very, very cold and just honestly a nasty woman. Now, Eileen's role within the household was full-time homemaker, and Henry Brudos, he would get a lot of seasonal work. Now, it is said that Henry Brudos was far less emotionally and physically abusive to Jerry. He was a bit more caring, like, no by much, but a wee bit. But Eileen was just so cold and harsh towards Jerry. Like, she hated him, like, low-key. She would be, like, very harsh, hypercritical of him. She was very matriarchal and also very prudish. Very, very prudish indeed. Now, due to the very dysfunctional relationship Jerry Brudos had with his mum, he did almost like befriend a neighbour. close by to him that acted as kind of like a mother figure to him. She acted very maternal towards him and seemed to really care about him, which he just loved, and he would say that he would dream and wish that this woman was his mother. Unfortunately not. I will say though, this woman became ill like a bit later, and she had to stop any visits from Jerry and also from any other neighbourhood children. Now, shortly after these visits had to stop, like the one good true friend that Jerry had actually died from tuberculosis, and this left Jerry completely broken and distraught. Now, in Jerry's childhood, if there was two words that seemed to describe him to a T, was unremarkable and average. Everyone said that he was unremarkable. Like he would try to get stuff done, but it was never anything worth praise in everyone's eyes. He done very average in school. He kind of got average grades. He didn't really socialise with any other children or participate in after school activities, which was like the polar opposite to his brother, because his brother was very popular, very sociable and done really well in school. It was also said that Jerry was quite a sickly child. He was always complaining of a sore throat and migraines, and like low-key when I read that I was like, is this article about me? Because like low-key me as a teenager. Now, because Henry Brudos had a lot of seasonal work, the Brudos family would move around quite a lot, so they were never really getting time to settle, but they did end up settling down at one point in Salem, Oregon. Now listen, if you know of the Jerry Brudos case, then you know exactly what it was that he got his infamy for, and that was his extreme foot fetish and a fetish for women's high-heeled shoes. Now, Jerry would say later on in life that this sort of like fetish and obsession started when he was around 5 years old. So the teenage daughter of a family friend was over at their house and she started to feel really unwell. So Brudos's mother was like, well, you know, if you're not feeling well, just go lie down in Jerry's bed. He won't mind. On you go. Hope you feel better. And when she was lying in this bed sleeping, Jerry was just like watching her, and he had this huge fascination with her high-heeled shoes. So she's lying on the bed and she actually has the high-heeled shoes on still. Now, seeing her asleep and with these gorgeous feet in these high-heeled shoes, Jerry became like transfixed, and at one point he tried to take her shoes off her feet while she slept. Now, she woke up and was a bit like, you know, what's going on here? Get your hands off my tootsies and back off. Then she made Jerry leave the room. On another occasion, still aged 5, Jerry Brudos was sort of playing around in a junkyard and he found these black leather heels that had like a rhinestone strap, and he was like, wow. Transfixed again. He was obsessed with them and he couldn't wait to take them home and show them to his mum. So Jerry goes home and he's so excited to try on these high-heeled shoes and show his mum, you know, get the feet out for her, show her how good they look. And when he tries them on to show her, she is horrified and she kicks off. Like, she is not happy. She calls him wicked, demands that he takes the shoes off, and sources say that she either made him return them to the junkyard or she burned them, but for the next bit to be true, it would have to be that she told him to take them back to the junkyard, because apparently Brudos had hung on to these shoes. He's like, I'm not giving up my rhinestone high heels, absolutely no way. So he keeps the high heels, and then his mother finds out that he still has the high heels and that he actually has other garments of like women's clothing and stuff like that. So she severely beats him, like severely beats him. And like, I have to say, this makes me quite sad because, I mean, maybe he just wanted to dress up. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, 2 years later, Brudos would attempt to steal the high-heeled shoes from his first grade teacher. Like, what a wee snake. Like, did she have her shoes off in class, or was he just like going to go up on their desk and be like, nothing to see here, I just want your shoes? Like, I don't know how that would work, but he attempted to steal her shoes, and when he was caught, she asked, you know, why are you trying to steal my high heels, Jerry? And he had claimed that he didn't really know why he wanted to steal them. He just wanted to steal them. Now, by the onset of puberty, at this point, Jerry is now obsessed with women's underwear, women's lingerie, and he would Like, he was very much into the acts of fondling, viewing and smelling female underwear. What? Like, please don't sniff underwear. That, no. But he was into this, and apparently he had, you know, discovered what you could do with female underwear from a teenage boy in the neighbourhood who had several sisters whose underwear he would fondle, view and sniff. Incestual. Now, as a teenager, Brudos would go around stealing underwear whenever he could. Like, you know, if it's hanging out on the washing line, it's up for grabs. Jerry wants it, he takes it. And he would later wear this underwear. Like, why not just go out and buy some if you really want it, you know? Now, when Brudos became a teenager, it is said that he was unaware of sexual intercourse. Like, he never knew that you could actually have sex, but he was obsessed and would get, like, erotic feelings when he thought about seeing a female naked. Now, by 1953, apparently still unaware of sexual intercourse, Jerry Brudos did begin to masturbate. Now, Jerry claimed when he would masturbate, he was not able to ejaculate. However, he would have wet dreams, and if his mum came in and seen like semen stains on the bed, she would go crazy. And she would force him to wash his own sheets and just generally embarrass him, even though it's a completely normal thing. When Jerry was in his teens, he would stalk a woman and would photograph her secretly whilst having these dark fantasies about her. And he was still stealing underwear and shoes, and he had this growing collection of high heels and lingerie, which I'll tell you what he does with this later. Now, initially, it said that none of his kind of early offences, like the stealing and things like that, were violent. However, in his mid-teens is when he would start to develop really dark fantasies about possessing a woman against her will. Now, at the age of 16, Jerry Brudos had built like this underground tunnel / alcove, and this is where he would fantasise about the women that he would kidnap against their will and hold them in his little like underground tunnel. At age 16, Jerry had lured one of the neighbourhood girls back to his bedroom under false pretences, and when they got in, he left the room for a second, and then when he returned, he had like a mask on and a different outfit, and he would hold this girl at knife point and demand that she strips down naked. Once the girl was naked, he would force her to pose for nude photographs, and then once she had done this, he then left the room. When he comes back in the room, he's wearing his original outfit, you know, the one he was wearing earlier, not the one when he was wearing the mask. So he's back in his original outfit, and his hair's like all messed up and in disarray, and he's got like a little like scuff mark on him as if he's been in a fight, and he tells this girl like, oh my god, I was just held at knife point in the family barn by an intruder. And this girl's like, what do you mean? Like, because I think she maybe thought it was Jerry. It doesn't really say too much online, but he was like, no, that wasn't me. Like, the intruder came up and must have done that to you. So a year after committing these violent acts, Jerry would continue to abduct girls for the neighbourhood and bring them back to his house. He would hold them at knife point, make them strip naked and photograph them. And then when he was done with them, he would make them go into like this little corn house thing. I'll insert a photo because I had no idea what it was, right? But this, I think they call it a corn crib, but you can call it a corn house. So he would lock them in there, and then several minutes later, Jerry would appear again, but this time he'd be wearing a different outfit, and he would claim that he was Jerry's brother Ed. Jerry's brother Ed would say that Jerry was currently in therapy and like, oh, this is going to set him back quite a bit. Like, I'm really sorry for what he done to you, but can you please, please, please not tell the police? I'll make sure that I get the camera and I'll delete all the photos that he's taken of you. Jerry's brother Ed. So he would beg and plead for them to not turn in Jerry himself, in case, you know, you maybe thought there was a twin brother. And it would seem that the girls obliged, because the authorities were never alerted to these, you know, crimes. And apparently it was nothing past tentative fondling. I don't think you can tentatively fondle anyone without their consent, actually. Then in 1956, Jerry had convinced a girl to go out on a date with them, and she agreed. She wasn't very keen, but she agreed. and he ended up driving her out to a desert and basically demanded that this girl undress for him. Now, this girl was like, hell no, I am not undressing for you. She had like point blank refused, which resulted in Jerry brutally beating her so severely that she wound up with a broken nose. Luckily, there was another couple who were like driving by and the screams from this girl had caught their attention, so they immediately went over to intervene. And he did try and pull some excuses, and he tried to say there was an intruder and that he actually saved her, and the girl was like, bro, you just assaulted me. So he then went on to be charged with assault and battery. This would not deter Jerry. No. Now, once they had arrested and charged Jerry for assault and battery, they did wind up doing a search of his bedroom, which turned up loads of female garments, high-heeled shoes, Polaroids of naked teenage girls, and they were able to identify one of the girls from the Polaroids. Shock horror. It was the girl who Jerry's evil twin attacked the August before. Now, when this could be confirmed by the girl, he was remanded in custody. So Jerry Brudos was treated as a juvenile offender and he was sent to undergo a psych evaluation. This was at the Oregon State Hospital. Brudos had entered this facility on April the 16th, 1956, and he would go on to be held for 9 months. Now, the psych test that Jerry underwent concluded that he was depressive with schizotypal personality disorder. But the doctor claimed that Jerry was not severely suffering mentally and that he had no signs of like delusions and hallucinations. So they were like, he's not severely mentally ill, and I mean, he just hates women because he hates his mum. So let's send him back to live with her. Great idea. Great idea, Doc. Love that. So as I was saying, after the tests were finished and concluded, he went back to his parents. He then went on to graduate 142nd out of a 202 class. And this was in 1957. And then 2 years later, he did go on to join the armed forces as a communications technician. They said that like he was very skilled in his area of work, but again, still unremarkable. Like he doesn't impress people, this guy. Now, fellow soldiers would call him like a fantasist. He always said that he was having casual sex with a beautiful Korean woman who would sneak into his bedroom at night and make sweet, sweet love. But that never happened. Now, Brudos would be discharged from the armed forces in October in 1959 as he was deemed mentally unfit to be in the armed forces. So because of this, he moves back home to his parents and gets a job at a local radio station. And whilst working at this radio station, he was described as mild-mannered but lacked ambition for himself. Like he didn't really have any goals. You know, he was quite happy just being where he was and not going any further. Now, one evening in the 1960s, Jerry had spotted what he deemed as a beautiful woman on her way home, and she was wearing high-heeled shoes. And Jerry was just like, I've missed you, high-heeled shoes. So he proceeds to follow this woman home to her Salem apartment, and he went on to strangle her unconscious, took the shoes off her feet. He de-shoed her, took her shoes off her feet and just fled the scene. Just ran away into the night with the shoes in hand. Now, he did say that he didn't rape this woman, so at this point, he's committing, like, he's committing violent acts, actually, strangled her unconscious, but he's not fully into his sickness and depravity. Now, there was another occasion where Jerry, yet again, tried to strangle and overpower a young woman who was wearing high heels, and this woman beat his ass. Like, well, she never bet his ass, I suppose, but she fought him off, and enough that he could only run away with one high-heeled shoe. Now, Jerry said that he would keep this shoe in his shed, but he would also frequently sleep alongside it. I don't know if he was cuddling the shoe, right, but I just know he shared a bed with the shoe. Then in September of 1961, Jerry would marry a woman by the name of Ralphine Schwindler. Now, it's weird, right, because when I was doing my research, sources refer to her as Darcy Metzler, but most sources refer to her as Ralphine Schwindler. Now, I know that she changed her name after she divorced Jerry Brudos. Spoiler alert, doesn't work out. But I couldn't work out if she changed to one of these names, right? But we'll call her Ralphine because that's how everyone knows her. So Ralphine. Now, to an outsider looking in, this marriage seemed pretty normal. People would say that they rarely swore, they were rarely caught having fights, they just seemed very normal, very unremarkable and average actually. Now, outside it might have looked like a normal marriage, but behind closed doors, nope, 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 nope. No. Now, Jerry obviously has these thoughts that he is just obsessed with, you know, like high heels and feet and lingerie. So he would force Ralphine to dress up in lingerie and be photographed by Jerry. Now, at first, Ralphine's like, Jer, this is a bit weird, but like, I'll do it for you. And she would do this for a couple of years. He would also request that she would do housework in high heels. And like, it's no Desperate Housewives. Like, this is real life, Jer. Like, get a grip, okay? Now, when their daughter was a toddler, this meant that Ralphine had her work cut out and she was paying more attention to their toddler, as you do as a parent. Jerry hated this. He felt like his needs were not being met because they were having sex less frequently, and at some points, not really at all. Now, Jerry says because of this, he felt rejected and his fantasies became more intense. Yeah, pass the blame, why not? So, in May of 1967, Ralphine was in the hospital giving birth to their second child. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jerry must have been by her side, holding her hand, helping her push, telling her to breathe. No. He was not. Jerry was out looking for a young woman, and luckily for Jerry, he spotted an attractive woman wearing high heels. Now, Jerry proceeded to follow this young woman back to her apartment, wait until it was night time, then he went into the apartment and went to strangle her unconscious, and he did. Now, Jerry said that his initial intentions were never to rape this woman, however, her body just lying there limp really got him going, and, you know, Ralphine's just gave birth, they might not get her for a while. So he proceeds to rape this poor young woman while she's unconscious. And of course, after raping this poor woman, he leaves the apartment with her high-heeled shoes. Like, does this man know that like shoe shops are a thing? Like, he could go to Clark's and get himself a pair of high heels, or if he wants something a bit more glitz and glamour, like, go to like a woman's shop. You could buy a pair of heels and just say they're for your wife. Now, not too long after this, Jerry would be arrested by Corvallis police because he was caught roaming the girls' dormitory grounds of Oregon State University. Shock horror, he had been in the dorm stealing clothes, so he was arrested for theft, and it said that, right, listen, this is hilarious to me, right? I don't know if it's just like I can picture him, or like this guy, if you know what he looks like, you know, sorry for your eyes, but imagine this: Jerry Brudos wearing a pair of pedal pushers, women's high heels, and women's lingerie. Yep. It's the pedal pushers. The pedal pushers get me, and I'm not dissing pedal pushers. I'm sure I've had a pair, right? But it's like, this man in these clothes. I'm just picturing him face down on the ground with these pedal pushers and the high heels just, you know, sticking off his feet at the end. Like, I'm sure at this point we are all under agreement that the acts committed by Jerry Brudos up to this point are absolutely disgusting and vile. And I am so sorry to say, it's only going to get worse from here. On the 26th of January 1968, Linda Catherine Slauson, a 19-year-old encyclopedia saleswoman, fatally found herself at Jerry Brudos' house, and she found herself at his house because she got mixed up with the addresses. So she winds up at Brudos' house, she has heels on, he likes the look of Linda, and he pretends that he's interested in buying encyclopedias, and he lures her into his basement to like further discuss business. So Linda takes a seat on a stool that Jerry has in his basement and starts her sales pitch, you know, to try and make the sale to Jerry. However, Jerry came up behind her with a section of wood and bludgeoned her severely to the head. He then strangled her to death and hid her underneath the basement staircase. Jerry then requested his mother to take his daughter out to purchase hamburgers, and whilst they done this, he would engage with necrophilic activities to her body. Brudos would undress and redress Linda's body with different lingerie, different high heels. He would pose her sexually and photograph it all. Then went on to sever Linda's left foot, which he stored in the family freezer located in the basement. And he would actually go on to extract this foot from the freezer anytime he wanted to model a shoe on it. Now, not only would he use the foot to model his high heel shoe collection, he would also use the foot to masturbate to, you know, get his jollies to the foot. And the encyclopedias that Linda had been trying to sell, he also kept them as like trophies. Later on, he tied Linda's body to a cylinder head and said he threw her off a railway somewhere in Marion County. Like, he said he couldn't recall exactly where it was. Like, who cares? You know, that was his attitude toward this beautiful young woman. Then, November the 26th, 1968, a 23-year-old woman by the name of Jan Susan Whitney had broken down at the side of the road alongside two hitchhikers that she had already picked up. So Jerry sees this as an opportunity. He pulls up alongside them, has a look at the car, sort of inspects it and says, oh yeah, like I can fix that, no problem at all. But you'll need to come back to my house because my tools and my equipment, it's all there. Now, he invites Jan and also these two hitchhikers to accompany him on this drive to his house. Now, he takes the hitchhikers to the location where they were headed, drops them off, and then heads to his home with Jan. Jerry and Jan get back to Jerry's house. They're sitting in the vehicle when Jerry says to her, you know, close your eyes and without moving your hands or opening your eyes, describe to me how you would tie a shoelace. And Jan was like, you know what, like, challenge accepted, like, let's do it. Because he seemed nice at the time. He just seemed like a decent man who was willing to help her. So she goes to try and do this, and then he comes up behind her with a leather strap and strangles her from behind before then raping her body inside the vehicle. So he then carries her body into his workshop, as he would refer to it, where he would continue to undress and redress Jan in these different items of lingerie and high heels. He would photograph her, pose her sexually and photograph her again. He performed necrophilic acts on her again. This man's just disgusting. What comes over a person to do something like that? Now, Jan's body was left hoisted from the ceiling for 2 days, and he would just go back to the body, you know, whenever he wanted to commit his necrophilic acts. Brudos then proceeded to cut off one of Jan's breasts, and he planned to use it as a paperweight, but the hardener that he used hadn't set properly, so he decided to just stuff it with sawdust and then pin it to a wooden board. Like, he was using the victim's organs as a decoration. On March the 27th, 1969, a young girl by the name of Karen Alina Sprinker was abducted after being held at gunpoint by Jerry Brudos. Karen was only 18 years old, and at the time of her abduction, she was on her way to meet her mum for lunch. Like, could you imagine your daughter not turning up to lunch when you've had it arranged, and the worry that would go through you, and then for her not to return and to hear what's happened to her? So at this point, Jerry had already been sitting in a parking lot when he spotted a young woman wearing high heels and a miniskirt. He chased this woman in the hopes of abducting her. However, when this failed, he then spotted Karen walking in her high heels and thought, I'll take her instead. Now, Brudos forced Karen into his vehicle and promised that he would not harm her, but she was going to come home with him. Now, Karen begged and pleaded with him to not harm her, and she said that she would do anything to him or for him that he wants as long as he promised not to kill her. Now, Jerry then proceeded to ask Karen if she was a virgin, to which she confirmed that she was, but said that she was on her period at the moment, and Jerry did not care at all. Once they got into his workshop, he proceeded to rape Karen on the floor and then made her dress up in the lingerie and high heels and pose sexually for him. Now, after he had finished this, he put a rope around Karen's neck after binding her hands behind her back, and he asked her, you know, is the rope too tight? And Karen had replied and said, yeah, like it is too tight. I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. It's horrible. After Karen said that the rope was too tight, Jerry proceeded to throw the rope over a ceiling beam and hoist her up off the ground so she would be strangled to death. Now, Brudos would go on to commit many necrophilic acts against Karen's body before cutting off both of her breasts. And there is rumours that he spray painted them bronze and put them up like an actual trophy, but I could not get this confirmed online. That night, Brudos had bound her body to a 6-cylinder engine and threw her into the Willamette River. Now after this, Brudos did attempt to abduct another 2 women, but thank God he failed and wasn't able to. Then on April the 23rd, 1969, Linda Dawn Salee, which by the way, if I'm saying her surname wrong, I'm really sorry, no disrespect. I have listened to how you say it and I feel like I'm still not saying it right, so apologies. Now, Linda was abducted from Lloyd Centre shopping mall, and this day she had been out buying her fiancé a birthday present and she was on her way back to her car when Jerry Brudos approached her. Now, apparently Brudos claimed to be a police officer. He had a fake badge, and he claimed that she was under arrest for shoplifting. Now, Linda's like, I definitely didn't shoplift, but if you need a statement or to check my bags or whatever, that's absolutely fine. So she goes with Jerry back to his car, and the minute she is in the car, Jerry tells her that she has in fact been kidnapped for ransom. Now, once Jerry gets Linda back to the house, he tells her to exit the vehicle and go to his workshop, so his garage, and Linda is starting to make her way over with Jerry when Jerry's wife comes out to the front door and tells him that his dinner's ready. Jerry says, "I'll only be a few minutes," and proceeds to go into the garage with Linda. Now listen, apparently his wife didn't notice Linda, or if she did, didn't think much of it, didn't see them go into the garage together, apparently. I have a lot of feelings about this woman, Ralphine, okay? I don't know. Did she know? Kind of feels like you would know something's wrong. Would you not be like, why are you with another woman, for a start? So Jerry proceeds to take Linda into his workshop. He then bounds her and goes to eat dinner with his family. Yeah, nothing, there's not a woman bound in the garage. Nah. Once Brudos had finished eating dinner with his family, he went back into the garage where he started to strangle poor Linda. And then he proceeded to strangle her to death whilst raping her. Yeah. Now, Jerry had her hoisted up and he was trying to use electric currents. He had 2 things going into the side of her breasts, and he was trying to make her body move around by sending electric currents through her. Now, he did keep her hanging in there for 24 hours before going to dispose of the body by tying it to a car gearbox and proceeding to throw her in the Willamette River. Now, Brudos had made plastic moulds of her breasts, but said that he chose not to mutilate them and cut them off because her nipples were too pink. Check your nipples, ladies. If they're too pink, then I think we're quite safe. So a few weeks after the murder of Linda Salee, on May the 10th, 1969, 2 fishermen come across her body in the Long Tom River. And when they discovered her body, of course, it was being weighed down by a car part. So they inform the police of this, tell the police exactly what they've found. The police come out with an underwater search unit, I suppose, and they are able to find another body. They find the body of Karen Sprinker also being weighed down by a car part. And they were able to identify that both bodies had been severely and brutally mutilated. So police go on to start investigating these crimes right away, and they start by interviewing some students from the State Oregon University because it's very, very close by to where the bodies had been dumped. Now, some of these girls were referring to a Vietnam vet who had called a few of them up asking them to go on dates. Now, one of these young women had actually told the police that she had met with a guy who referred to bodies in the river and made an unsettling joke about strangling her to death and putting her in the river. Weird personality. Now, the police had asked if the girls would be up for, doing a sting operation, so trying to get Jerry Brudos to go on another date with them, and of course, he did. And when Jerry came on that date, the police swooped right on in and took him in for interrogation. And upon this interrogation, they decided that they had to investigate even further. On June the 27th, 1969, Jerry Brudos had pleaded guilty to murdering 3 women. Now, once the police had obtained a search warrant for Brudos' house, when they went in, it was very, very evident and very clear to them that he was definitely the killer. Now, they had found nylon rope, trophies, and also photographs of the woman that he had killed. Now, at some point throughout his interrogation interview, he did then admit to killing the 4 women and actually admitted to kidnapping and abducting several others way before. Now, Jerry Brudos would be found guilty for the murders of Whitney, Sprinker and Celie, and he was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. However, he did escape conviction for Slauson's murder due to the fact that they were never ever able to find her body. Now, as for Brudos' wife, she had divorced him after the arrest. She also changed her name and her children's name as well. I suppose they changed it away from Brudos so they weren't associated with him. And they did wind up moving away to an undisclosed location. Now, Ralphine was charged with aiding and abetting because she had actually been like a getaway driver for Jerry. I mean, she says that she wasn't, but she was on her way driving toward the border when the police had pulled them over and Jerry was in the back hiding under a blanket. Not suspicious at all. Or is it? Yeah, it is. But she wasn't actually convicted of murdering any victims. Of course, there's no evidence of her murdering. However, that whole thing about the porch, you know, when she had seen the girl and then the girl went and, I don't know. I don't want to believe that she knew, but she got I knew something. Now, after serving 37 years of his sentence, Brudos did die in 2006. Oh no, what a shame. He will not be missed and I hope he is burning in hell. It's weird because after his incarceration and as well after his death, he was kind of forgotten about for the murders and crimes that he committed because these other prolific serial killers started to come through the news and more people were hearing about them, and so he was kind of forgotten. Right up until Netflix released Mindhunter. If you've not watched that TV show, you absolutely should. It's phenomenal. But they reference Jerry Brudos in this and they have a guy that plays him and talk about his fetishes and stuff like that. So should definitely check it out. But he was kind of forgotten about up until then. And then that's when everyone started talking about him again. But that is the end of this true crime and makeup video. The case of Jerry Brudos, the shoe fetish slayer as he is known. I just like to think of him as a general weirdo, creep, ugly man. Yeah, but I do hope you enjoyed this video, or at least found it interesting. Enjoyed is always the wrong word, as I say all the time. You don't enjoy murder, but I hope it was an interesting take on the case for you. I will say there's a lot more information between what happened from his arrest to his incarceration, but this video would be too long and I film on my phone so my storage would have ran out. So I would definitely recommend looking it up if you want a bit more in-depth detail. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe. Please put the notification bell on so you don't miss when I upload, which is 2 to 3 times per week with a new interesting case. Down below will be all my social media handles, my Instagram and TikTok if you want to give me a follow there. But ultimately, just make sure that you subscribe to the channel. All the details of what I've used on my face today will also be linked down below in case there's anything that you want to purchase. In the comments, you can also leave case suggestions or you can send them over to my email, which will pop up on the screen now for you. But I really hope you found this interesting, and until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye!